Hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Couple of Sassholes podcast. I'm Brooklyn Johnson.
And I'm Heather Terry.
And this is our Power Hour of True Crime, where we talk about fucked up people doing fucked up shit, usually for fucked up reasons or sometimes for no reasons at all.
That's right.
And today, everything is so different.
Today is different and exciting.
It is. We have a guest today, which, as we just said, was so freaking exciting. And have you guys been following the show Toxic?
Oh, my God.
Because that is where it is at. So it's on Hulu, Amazon, HBO Max, and Investigation Discovery, which is literally the birth blood of any true crime fanatic.
Right.
We know that. If you haven't seen it, you need to put us on hold, put a little press pause, and go up in there and stream it right now.
Go watch it.
Please do.
Yes.
And this actually, the episode premiered May 5th of this year. So it was like 2 shakes of a lamb's tail ago. And it's hosted by Elizabeth Chambers. And that is the ex-wife of Armie Hammer.
Yeah.
So if there's one woman that knows fucking toxic
relationship,
it is Elizabeth Chambers. And so the series really highlights stories of toxic relationships and what happens whenever they just go too fucking far.
Right. And in the first episode, it's called Sleeping with a Stranger. Kelly Sutliff, she goes into what was supposed to be a fairy tale romance. However, her husband, Chris, devolved into this nightmare, emotional manipulation, sexual assault, stalking, drugging, physical violence, just everything, you name it.
Fucking insane.
The fucking worst.
Fucking insane.
Yeah.
And Kelly's over here like, yeah, I lived that shit.
I
so
did.
let's tell you a little bit more about this beautiful being that is on the other side of our screen today.
Right.
She is not only a licensed psychotherapist, a domestic violence survivor, and passionate advocate for healing, empowerment, and safety. And she's bravely shared her story on the premiere episode that we have just talked about, which is Sleeping with a Stranger, and it has really brought national attention to the realities that survivors face.
Right.
We want to act like after everything happens, that things are resolved, and sometimes they just aren't. She's also the founder of Kelly's Canines, Tales of Courage, which is a nonprofit organization that provides highly trained protection dogs to domestic violence survivors at no cost.
That's so amazing.
I have chills.
Right.
Like I literally just got chills. Just
right.
It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it was inspired by the life-changing bond that was formed. Now I say obviously, this is not obviously, but inspired by the life-changing bond she formed with her own protection dog, Stella. And it's been Kelly's mission to help other survivors reclaim their lives with loyalty, love, and a new sense of safety. And with over 14 years in private practice, Kelly brings both professional expertise and lived experience to her work, whether she's supporting clients in therapy, advocating for systematic change, which is huge and needed after everything you've experienced, or of course, training alongside her own dogs in competitive protection sports. So holy fucking balls. Welcome, Kelly.
Hello, ladies. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your platform.
Thank you for coming. We're so happy. We have fangirled so hard.
We have. Thank you so much for saying yes. Because we first slid into your DMs. I'm like, she's never going to see it. But you know what? I've had a couple of glasses of wine. I'm going to shoot my TikTok shot. So I just sent, and I was sitting there literally. It's 1 a.m. I got tears in my eyes. I'm like, she's such a badass. She's so strong and she's smart and pretty and she loves dogs. I'm just going to do it. I'm like, she's just going to leave me on red like a dirty ex-boyfriend. And then she was like, I'd love to. I'm like,
when you told me, I was like,
right?
Yeah.
I know. I feel like I should have said the Pledge of Allegiance or something across, did this whenever she was reading your bio.
Just stand up to the flag.
I'd be like, the flag of Kelly.
No, when I got it, I went and I watched some of your podcasts and I was like, these are my type of chicks. Their humor, a little bit of a truck driver mouth. You guys are my kind of girls.
Truck driver mouth. I like that.
Yes, we do.
Call me Big Bertha. I'm going to steal that one.
Okay, one question we always ask.
Yes, we've had some guests on our show, and to lighten it up before we get into the deep dive, whenever I tell stories, I'm like, what was your death row meal? Because that's the one, when they're on death row, they can order anything. Some of these assholes are like, I'm going to get 8 lobsters and some pizzas. The one I always bring up is he got a pepperoni pizza and a hot chocolate, which makes me gag. So what would your death row meal be?
All right.
And you can pick anything. Which
this
is why we don't tell them ahead of time.
This might be the most difficult question you guys are going to ask me today.
We're hard-hitting journalists, so that's...
So listen, you can never go wrong with Chinese food. I love Chinese food, but I think I'm going to go out with chicken parmesan, but with a vodka sauce and a dirty martini, extra dirty, Grey Goose, regular olives, no vermouth. That's how I like my drink. So that is my death row drink.
Jess is over there like,
our producer's going like this.
That's where it's at. I'm like, yes. I just feel like I got to know you more now.
I know. I have a follow-up question to that. So when Brooklyn and I, if we ever go out and get a cocktail, whenever she orders them, because she likes hers extra dirty too. Do you order it like you're on OnlyFans? Because I blush whenever she'll be like, I want an extra dirty, and she doesn't even mean to make it sexual, but it sounds sexual.
She acts like every time I order it, I'm like, can I get a martini, please? Extra dirty.
She does. Yes.
I do not do that.
So I don't anymore because I'm in a relationship. But when I was single and if the bartender was cute, I'd be like, and I want it really filthy, like really filthy. And so I would do that. Yes. I don't anymore because my boyfriend is there. So I'm clearly not hitting on any bartenders. And even if he's not there, I'm clearly not hitting on any bartenders. But yeah, I used to really say it like I was an OnlyFans model and I wanted him to subscribe.
I love that.
See, there you go. I don't drink them.
She says
so.
I don't, and
you gotta own it.
They gotta be extra dirty though, and depending on my mood, filthy is an actual way to order it.
It is.
It means you want extra of that juice, man. You gotta say it.
You do,
or you're wasted off of one.
Okay, now that we all want martinis, let's get into this because we're probably gonna need one after this. We're gonna get into your story. So tell us where you were back in early 2018 before you met Chris. Like, what were you doing? What was your headspace? Like, what was happening in Kelly's world?
So in early 2018, I honestly don't think I was in the best headspace. I think I was in a little bit of a vulnerable situation. I had worked full time as a crisis counselor in high school, and I had just left that job. And to be completely honest with you guys, I left under, really terrible circumstance. Very, very, very long story short, where I was working, they violated the rights of one of my students, and then they got me involved, and they wanted me to do some things that I was very much against. So I kind of spoke up about it, and I said, what you guys are doing is wrong. This is a violation of this student's rights. And then they came back on me and basically wanted to, accuse me and charge me with being insubordinate. So they wanted to hold my increment for the following year. So I went out on leave. I used all of my sick days. And then at the end of the year, I put in my resignation. Then I ended up suing them for wrongful termination. It didn't go anywhere, but that just gives you an idea of where my headspace was. I was in a really big transitional period. Thank God I had my private practice part-time that I was able to then go into full-time. But I was in a really rough spot emotionally, along with, my career changing. I had just lost my father in March of 2017. And I lost my mom in August of 2013. And, I have a very, very small family. So, losing them was really traumatic for me, especially when I lost my mom. She was my best friend. So then losing my dad only 4 years after my mom, now, I lost my job in essence, even though I resigned, I lost my job. So 2018 was really like a year of, just being in a rough spot. And I met Chris in August of 2018. I had come back from a trip. I did Yacht Week. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Yacht Week in Croatia with my best friend, Christina. And I came back and I must have picked up some sort of virus over there or something. So I also really wasn't feeling my best. I came back. I was on Bumble swiping and I came across Chris and I swiped right and we matched and we started talking and we were talking for, about 2 weeks before we met up in person. And, I remember telling him like, hey, I haven't really been feeling well, so I don't know how long I can stay out for or whatnot. And, Chris kept saying like, it doesn't matter that you're not at your best. Like, I really want to meet you. And, if I like you when you're feeling like this, I can only imagine what you're going to be like at your best. So he was really just kind of setting the stage and really love bombing straight from the beginning. So that's a little bit about where my headspace was at when I first met Chris.
Man, I love, number one, I'm so sorry for the loss of your parents.
Right.
You're so young, and I am so sure that none of that was expected. And you didn't have the time to even process it.
Right.
And so my biggest condolences.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry for your loss
you.
of your parents and having to cope with all of that by yourself. And thank you for explaining where you were in your journey.
Yeah.
Before meeting him on Bumble, what was like the dating scene like for you? Like, were you actively dating? Were you like, I'm ready for a partner? Or were you just like, I'm going to get on a dating app and see what happens?
Right.
So I had been doing the online dating thing for a while, and actively dating. But as I'm sure it is everywhere else, New Jersey, it's tough to date. I think it's tough dating everywhere, and friends would really describe me as if I was in a room full of men, Kelly would, without a doubt, pick out the asshole, end up dating him, and then get her heart broken. So that was like the MO with me. Like, I had this history of just dating, the jerks. So, my dating history, it really wasn't that great. And I hadn't been in a relationship, I think, a serious relationship. My ex-boyfriend, we broke up right before my mom died. And since then, I had not really been in any kind of serious relationship, dated here and there, but nothing really, really serious. So I was looking. I wouldn't say I was desperate, because I've never really been desperate to be with someone. I've always been very independent, okay, on my own, but I wanted to share my life with someone. So I certainly was looking for someone long-term.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I feel like there are always like stages in your life where you're like, I'm just in the have fun phase. I don't want any of that. And then there's other times where you're like, all right, I've worked really hard to like get this house, get this career, get my shit together. I'm happy. Like, I'm of course dealing with my own things that are going on in my life, but like in the overall, like it would be pretty cool to spend some time with somebody. I'd like to find someone hot to hang out with.
Right. And I think that's where I was. I think that's where my headspace, was. It was hard for me to date with both my parents, because I was really kind of both their primary caretaker, going with them to, doctor's appointments. They both had died from cancer. So, I spent a good year with each of them, really, really being their primary caretaker. So there really wasn't that much time for me to devote to somebody else during that time. So I think in 2018 was where I was really kind of like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to be able to devote the time that I have now into a relationship and in being with somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's so true too, because some people would just jump into it anyway, and you could burn bridges that you might want to cross later that you already burned them down because you tried to date them when you didn't have time. So the fact that you were so selfless to put your family first, and you were smart enough to know that is amazing. But when you were doing that, is it swiping? I've been married for
all
like
of them
13.
are swiping.
They're all swiping.
They're all swiping.
I've been married a while
now.
Okay.
This shit that. I'm literally looking at Jess through the window over here, like Heather over here being like, "Are they all swiping?
Are they all swiping?"
Oh,
I did. Whenever she was single,
she took my phone when I was single, and she worked every dating app on my phone.
I would swipe, and she would get mad because.
So I'm like, at the end of the day, because you like guys I don't like, and she would swipe right to these dudes, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to them.
I know. Well, one time when you first handed it to me, I'd had a couple drinks and I swiped the wrong way, and they matched. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't know." Which
she
way
was swiping right for left. And left is no, right is yes.
I don't know.
Right.
So she yesed
Yeah.
a hell of a lot of no's.
And then
So
no,
she knows exactly
the ones
what
that
they
you
are.
wanted to yes.
Right.
I was trying to be a good friend, but apparently I was a shitty one.
You
But
failed.
so when you were swiping, what drew you to Chris originally when you were going through that? Because I mean, I'm sure, especially
And also just meeting him. Sorry for interrupting, but
Yeah.
also like, what did you like whenever you met him and you were
Right.
dating him?
like, what were you like? Okay, I should give this guy a shot.
So let's be honest. When you're swiping, like the first thing that's attracting you to someone is how they look. And honestly, knowing Chris now, it makes me sick to actually say I found him good looking. But clearly, you know, at that time, I was attracted to him. And honestly, I said this, you know, prior, you know, on those dating apps, you know, very rarely do you find men that actually fill out the bio. Like it's a 5-minute thing to fill out. And I was getting to the point where I'm like, dude, if you can't even fill out a little bit about yourself, like that's ridiculous. I don't need an essay, but I'd
Bare
like
minimum.
like that to me just show. And my thing wasn't even, you know, that intense. So he actually filled it out. So I was like, all right, he's good looking. He filled out the bio. And when I swiped, we matched. It was Bumble. So the girl or the woman has to message the man first. So I messaged him. He responded. And again, a lot of these dating apps, like it would fall off really quickly. So you'd be communicating with someone and then all of a sudden, you know, the conversation just completely falls off. Or they're not engaging whatsoever. And clearly you guys can tell I'm a little bit of a talker. So like he was engaging, the communication was great. You know, we moved to texting, you know, and I still have all those texts to this day. And I'd be lying if I said to you that I didn't look back at them. And looking back at them now, like I really see the love bombing, like very quickly calling me baby or babes, you know, the good morning, the good night text, you know, constantly checking in to see how I was feeling and whatnot. And so I think, you know, he sucked me in.
Yeah. What when you were going through all that, because obviously you're really close with Christina and you have like a tight knit group, like that's, you know, obviously Brooklyn's my best friend, which is another element laying on top of your story that drew me in, because I was like, her best friend's so invested in this. What did she think? What did your friends and family think? Like what vibe? Because did you keep it close to your chest and then start saying, I'm seeing this guy? Or how quick were you to divulge it? And how did everybody like respond to you about that?
So when Chris and I first started talking, one of my girlfriends was staying with me, Lindsay. And so Lindsay was, you know, there as he and I are communicating through the app and then text messaging. And both her and Christina, like, you know, they thought he seemed really great. You know, they wanted their best friend to be happy. They wanted me to find someone as much as they maybe wanted to find someone for themselves. So, you know, I have to be honest, everyone really thought Chris was great. And I can even remember, and I said this in the TV show, when I first brought Chris, you know, around to people and when we were really first starting, you know, to get serious and dating, I remember saying to quite a few of my friends, like, I think he's too nice. And they said to me, like, Kelly, like, you're used to dating assholes. Like, this is what a guy should be. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. Like, clearly, like, this is the nice guy. I typically don't give the nice guy a shot. So I think everybody saw him as being super charming, super nice.
Yeah. That I was wondering that too, and because I mean, if he fooled you, he's gonna fool everybody. And like you had mentioned, that your past is like you said, you picked assholes, so that's probably night and day. And you're like, what's happening? And they're like, oh, he's being charming. This is how you're supposed to be treated. So,
right,
that's hard too, because like whenever you had said that your friends liked him, I was like, good. You know, it's good that they were like so supportive in the jump. And at the end of the day, in the intro phases, the only negative thing he did was the love bomb. Like in the very right. So he just came on hard and fast. And
right.
That's technically, a lot of people can be like, they just, you know, he fell hard for her. Like there's so many scenarios in this story that we could talk about it where it would be like, that was a really beautiful romantic storyline.
right.
And unfortunately in this one isn't.
Right.
And so I kind of have like a two-part question on this one. So you met him, and let me know if I'm wrong on any of the dates because I am not you. But you met him around August of 2018. He proposed in December of the same year, and then y'all had tied the knot, and you were living together by January of the next year, right?
Yeah, so he actually moved in even before then. So you're right. We met in August of 2018. He moved in early November of 2018. We got engaged December of 2019. We had technically 2 weddings. So the real wedding is January of 2019, which there were, his mother and his child came to that. And then a few of my close friends. Cause again, I really didn't have much family. We didn't tell anyone about that wedding, because he was traveling to Hawaii in April for work. He worked for the government. So we knew that when we were going out to Hawaii, we were going to elope. And that's when we wanted to announce the wedding, and that really kind of be the wedding date. But in reality, January is actually on paper the real wedding date.
When he had proposed, were you originally like fully gung-ho excited, or did you have any trepidation for the speed in which everything kind of happened?
So we had talked about getting engaged, and I can't put full blame on Chris for the speed of the relationship, because I did allow it to move at that pace. So, he moved it along very fast, but I definitely allowed it to move at that pace. So I wasn't hesitant when he proposed. However, I look back now at the proposal, and I did not know that was when he was going to propose. I had a feeling it was coming soon, but we had talked about, what I wanted for a proposal. And, I was very, very clear in saying that, like, I really wanted it to be something intimate. And, I wanted it to really be me and him, something very, very intimate. And it was anything but. He did it.
I'm like, wow.
Wasn't it at Rockefeller Center? Or wasn't it
Rockefeller Center, in front of the tree with his mom and son there. And then we went to Olive Garden for dinner. So I
did not realize you wanted something intimate. Like my face changed, and I was like, watch your fucking face, Brooklyn. You do this shit sometimes. Because my face was like,
that's the opposite. Like,
yeah.
And you're like, I want something cute, me and you. No, I'm going to take you to the busiest place in the United States for Christmas and do it right there.
Right.
I mean, in your defense, at least you had a cute outfit on.
Yeah, and at the time, I'm thinking like, okay, don't be a bitch and like complain about this. He just gave you a gorgeous ring. Like he just proposed. You want to marry this man. Maybe communication got lost somewhere. I'm not sure how that could happen about what I wanted and what I didn't want. So I never really said anything like, hey, like, not a fan at how you did this. But looking back on it now, I 100% think Chris was really kind of testing me. And that was one of the ways very, passive aggressively, he was pushing my boundaries, doing something he knew I did not want him to do.
Wow.
That's, oof.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
But you had said too, so you were like, it wasn't just Chris who sped the relationship along. When I was single, Heather would constantly get annoyed with me. She'd be like, you go too fast with guys. Like you jump so far in the relationship. And my statement was always, I'm just running at the same speed as them. And so I was like, I'm just going at their pace. Right. Like I wasn't setting the pace. I was just going at the pace. And my claim to fame was having very extreme relationships burn out in 60 days or less. That is what I personally did. I would do everything you did, but let's condense into 90 days. Let's have it blow up right there. Like that's what I do. We're going to make it a quarter.
Right.
That's about it. But on that same part, like, and Christina and, just your closer friends, like, how did they feel about the pace? Were they supportive? Because I wondered that too. I was like, I feel like my I don't know if my friends and people close to me would be as supportive, because I feel like they would just be like really raw. And because I don't want it to come off in a certain way, because like we went through, like, you do get to this point where you are ready to be in a relationship and your heart is open. It's not that it's on your sleeve. It's just you have an open heart and you're ready for someone to grab it and take it away.
Right. Right.
And your friends and family and those closest to you know that. And so in some cases, they're going to be really protective of it, protective bear. And then in other cases, some people are going to be really butterfly and rainbows and be like, everything's perfect with whoever it was you were with. You know what I mean? So like, how did your friends and family go?
So no one said anything to me that they thought it was moving too fast. If anything, again, like, people were really enamored by Chris. They thought, Kelly hit the jackpot. And again, I think my friends knew that, like, I had a really tough life, especially with my parents being sick and everything. And they really wanted, something good to happen for Kelly finally, because the past few years have been really a lot of traumatic stuff. So no one said anything to me. And I actually didn't know until everything happened with Chris that, Christina wanted to be at the engagement, and Chris told her, it was just family. So I didn't even know that until everything, blew up with Chris. I think, my sister, I have a sister, a younger sister. Her and I always had a very, very tumultuous relationship. So at the time I met Chris, I actually wasn't even on speaking terms with her. Her and I reconnected after Chris and I got engaged. And Chris was really hesitant about my sister and I reconnecting, rightfully so. My sister's tough. Her and I've had a very, very toxic relationship. So he really played it off as, I'm just concerned for you because, your sister and you have not had a good relationship. I don't want to see you guys reconnect and then this just go to shit like it typically does. But, I explained to him, no, I would like to try with my sister. And I think looking back now, I honestly think he was not concerned for me. He was more concerned for himself. Because if there's anyone that may have seen through his bullshit, it likely would have been my sister, who is kind of like negative Nancy. So I think that's why he did not want us to reconnect. And the reason I bring that up is because before my sister and I really reconnected, she found out that I was engaged, and she must have heard about the speed of the relationship. And she said to a friend of mine, do you think this is too fast? Like, do you think something isn't right about this? And that friend said to her, no, he's really great. Like, don't worry about it. So if there was anyone that may have thought that it was too fast, it would have been my sister. However, when my sister and I reconnected and she eventually met Chris, I have to say, I think, I know he won her over too.
Oh, wow. I mean, when you're a good charmer, you got it. And you know exactly who you're supposed to go after and lay it on thicker with those people. So
exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cut to, I saw this on the show. I know that he had a temper tantrum at your wedding dinner when Christina made the joke at your wedding dinner. Now, during my matron of honor speech at her wedding, I made a joke to her now husband. She got married last year. And I said, you're the only best friend she's ever allowed to have, in front of everyone. He laughed, gave me a hug, blah, blah, blah.
You ended it with, I'm going to be here always, or you're going to have to get a restraining order. Something like that, where the end of it was a hilarious restraining order comment.
Yeah, like I said, yeah.
So it was like...
And it was funny and great. Yeah, and like he laughed, and I said, I'm here for the 30% of her you can't handle, blah, blah, blah. Like, fun jokes, best friend, protective, all that stuff. He laughed, we hugged, everybody laughed. But Chris had a different reaction when Christina made a joke at your wedding dinner. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So Oh God, I forget what year it was, but Christina and I did this stupid thing. You know, she was engaged in her past. I was engaged years ago. We both had, you know, we both broke up with these guys before the weddings, but we both had these dresses. So it was New Year's Eve. We had clearly had a couple of drinks and we're both like, oh my God, let's just get in our wedding dresses and have this like fake ceremony, take some pictures. Like it was like some silly little thing. So that's exactly what we did. And like my other friend that was there, like pretended to be like, you know, the marrying us. And so it was just ridiculous. But we always had this inside joke that was like, well, I married her first or I married you. And, you know, so at the wedding, Christina just says, and it was in front of people, but again, this is funny. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. She just said, well, you know, Chris, like, don't forget, you know, I married her first. And this was the first time that I saw Chris like really get angry and throw a temper tantrum. And he didn't necessarily throw it there. He stormed away. Like he didn't get verbally assertive or aggressive or anything like that, but he definitely stormed away. He was angry, didn't finish his meal. You could tell he wasn't happy. That's for sure. And her and I are kind of just looking at each other and I'm like, this is ridiculous. The entire car ride home, he was just going off about how he can't believe she said that. And I have to tell you, like, I did not back down. I was saying to him, you are wrong. So if you think I'm going to take your side on this, you are mistaken. Like, it was a joke and you were being ridiculously dramatic. And I think it got to a point where he realized, okay, like, Kelly's not taking my side. I need to let this go. Because I really think this was the start of him trying to intervene in my relationship with my friends. Because that night, he also found fault with something my friend Lindsay said that was, you know, not bad at all. But I really think that was the start. And how funny, right when we got married, where he was trying to intervene in my friendships and really start to try to isolate me.
It's mind-blowing that it was like 16 breaths of air after you said I do.
Yeah.
Like usually
Literally.
you sprinkle, like what I've been doing. I've been married for a year now. So I've been sprinkling my crazy softly.
Right.
Over the last,
he just full force. It was like, oh God.
And then the fact, like I love the fact that from everything that we've learned today and that I've seen, you don't back down from anyone or anything.
No.
Even like you were telling where your headspace was, like the thing about your old job, like you were like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I just think that's so awesome that you were like, no, you're being dumb. That's my best friend. She made a joke. Why are you making it weird?
Yeah.
Like, why are you making it weird?
There's a gnat chasing me.
Me
So
too.
I need to just make it clear that every time I'm not seeing hallucinations, I'm like,
Wait, do you want to know the weird thing about that? I don't know if you guys believe in signs.
yes.
Okay, so
Always.
I used to blog about my parents. I'm not even kidding you. There's a blog about a gnat. It's my mother.
I'm about to cry, Dom. Like that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm gonna
we never
send you
have a
guys.
gnat
I'm
in
gonna
here,
send
and
you.
it's a gnat, not even
I
a
think
fly.
the blog's name. It all started and ended with a gnat. I'll send you the blog because it's about my mother coming to me as this gnat. And when you read it, you're gonna die because you're gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe that you just said that. I'm gonna send you the blog. It's my mom, so she says hi.
Oh my God.
Your mom
thanks
says
for
hi.
being here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, we record here every Thursday and we have never had a gnat in here.
I'm
We've
telling
never
you,
had a
it's my
flying
mother.
creature.
It's my
Yeah.
mother.
Well, your mom.
Well, then
can-
I'm not gonna swipe anymore. I'm just gonna let her land directly on my nose.
Yeah.
Like she is trying to do.
I know. I was like, okay, don't look. And I was like going like this.
I've got to communicate because at one point I was like,
So
like I got to
funny.
tell them
Yeah,
what's
I
happening.
can't
I'm
wait
not
to
just
send you the
losing
blog
it.
post now.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I love that your mom's here.
Yeah. And I believe you have the next one.
Yeah.
Too,
So, okay, you get home from the wedding. You know, everybody asks that annoying question, like, how's married life? Like 5 seconds after you get married. Like, and then you were going through your health issues. So, like, how was married life after you got over that and he figured out that he couldn't put a wedge between you and your friends?
So married life, it was as good as it could have been for as sick as I was. Like I was really, really sick. And I really started to get sicker when Chris moved in. When I came back from Croatia, like I had this little virus, but then it really escalated into something totally different. I was getting these hives all over my body and daily. And then the hives would turn into these welts, and then the welts would leave bruises. So my entire body was like one big bruise. I was having chronic headaches, major stomach issues. I was fatigued all the time. I mean, to be honest with you, I spent the majority of my relationship with Chris in bed because I could not get out of bed. That's how tired I was. I was in and out of doctors, hospitals. At one point, my one leg literally gave out and stopped working. And, I was rushed to the hospital because they thought I had a blood clot. I woke up one morning and my entire right arm was the size of a balloon. It was swollen. And the doctors just could not figure out what was going on with me. At one point, I was actually diagnosed. They did a biopsy on one of my hives, and I was diagnosed with a very rare autoimmune disease, urticarial vasculitis, that my doctor could not even believe that I had it. It's that incredibly rare. But they were saying, the doctors, in October of 2019, I had luckily got an appointment with one of the top rheumatologists in the country. And this doctor, he didn't even really take insurance. And this was the only doctor's appointment Chris went to with me. When I got my biopsy, he didn't go. He went to one of my hospital visits, but he didn't go to any other doctor's appointments. He went to this one and he recorded the doctor's appointment. Now, when he recorded it, I remember saying, why are you doing that? That's weird. But again, here's where he kind of used the death of my parents and their sickness against me. He's like, well, from when your parents were sick, doctors say so much, you can't catch everything they say, and you want to know what, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, good point. But now I think he recorded it because he wanted to be able to listen back to see what this doctor was going to say. And this doctor was so thorough, and he was adamant that, he was going to figure out, no matter what it took, to figure out what was going on with me. And he basically said, the doctor, I can get stuff done that other doctors can't get done. And that was true. So for example, they wanted to do an MRI on my muscles. And that's not typically something insurance will pay for, an MRI on your muscles. Well, this doctor just had to make a few phone calls and I got an MRI on all my muscles. So amazingly, after that doctor's appointment, I started to get magically better. And I actually canceled the doctor's appointment I had with him in November. So the marriage started off it was a lot of me being sick, Chris taking care of me, getting me, the food that I wanted to eat, getting me the water. That's something Chris always did, was he made my water. And obviously, you guys saw the show, that is what we suspect Chris was drugging. He was putting stuff in my water to make me incredibly sick. And I think that at that doctor's appointment, Chris realized, shit, this doctor's going to find out what's going on with her. And clearly whatever Chris was giving me, it's not supposed to be in my system. So when the doctor says, you have this in your system, are you taking this? And I'm like, absolutely not. The only other person that could be giving it to me would be the man that lives with me, my husband. So I think at that doctor's appointment, I remember when I was getting blood work done at that appointment, Chris was sweating. And I was like, what's going on with you? He's like, I don't like doctors and hospitals. And I was like, dude, you were just in the hospital a month and a half ago getting this cyst thing removed. And you were fine. I was the one that was panicking. So, the marriage was good. We really didn't fight, but I was also really sick.
Right. And you probably had like a shit ton of doctor's appointments, and then he just happens to go when you get to the top notch, like doctor.
And then, my first thought originally was that he was jealous. Like my first thought, even though I knew he, like, I say I know that. I don't know shit about fuck. But I believe from everything I've seen, he was poisoning you. And it's like, I didn't even I was like, oh, he's just upset because she's going to go. And even though I knew that, I was still thinking, oh, he was just jealous. He didn't want her to go to that doctor, like a male doctor. And that's just my dumb thought, was like a jealousy factor into it. Not even that he was like, I need to see how good this doctor is.
Yeah, well, why didn't you care how good the other doctors were? Like, that's
insane.
That's nutso.
Wonderboy Media is not only the proud producer of this glorious magic imploring your ear holes right now, but they're also a big deal.
Get in touch with them today to make all of your dreams a freaking reality.
From using their bangin' ass podcast studio,
where we are right now,
to creating amazing videos and editing our content like the mystical mavericks they are.
Your podcast can go further when you have a Wonder Boy.
Hit up Drew today at WBOYmedia.com.
Or text him day or night at 270.
Just kidding.
Does your face look like a mugshot lately?
Then it is officially time for you to visit Hetef Aesthetics in Owensboro, Kentucky or Nashville, Tennessee.
That's right. Go see our girl Amber Teasley and her team, because they'll have your face and your skin look like a damn filter.
And their staff is absolutely amazing. It's like a mini Botox party, which personally is my favorite. You leave looking fresher and you don't have a hangover.
Another good thing is that if you go in there and you tell them that a couple of Sassholes sent you, you get 15% off of everything.
That's unbelievable. So if you have been considering getting that glow up and making that ex jealous, it's time.
So for people who did not watch Toxic, we believe Chris was drugging me in order to sexually assault me when I was, drugged and sleeping. After that night happened where Chris attacked me and tried to kill me, I got my hands on his phone while he was in the hospital, and I found hundreds of pictures of me just sleeping that I have zero recollection of him taking. And they're creepy. Like, he's posed me and he's taking pictures of himself in these pictures as well. So they're not just of me sleeping. Like, he's taking like a selfie with me. There are also videos of him, masturbating to me when I'm like completely unconscious. There's one video where he's masturbating to me. He then pans the camera to me and I'm completely passed out. And then right after that, we both had a Corvette. So my Corvette, and I had this license plate before I even met him. My Corvette, the license plate says not his. Because I was tired of people every time they saw me in the car, they were kind of like, oh, is that, did your husband get you that car, your boyfriend? And I was like, no, bitch, I got the car for myself. So I got the license plate that just said not his. So Chris thought that was funny, and he had a Corvette, and for his license plate, it said not hers. So after this video of him masturbating where I'm completely passed out, you then see him take the camera, he walks downstairs, and he lifts the cover on his Corvette and films the license plate that says not hers. And then the video cuts out. Like, it's just creepy.
I'm fucking crazy.
And then, there was the incident that happened. There were two incidents that I recall where I woke up in the middle of the night and Chris was inside me. And I can remember jumping up and being like, what are you doing? Freaking out. And he's like, I thought you were awake. And I'm like, I was not awake. So honestly, everything just started making sense that Chris was drugging me to rape me when I was unconscious and sleeping.
I can't imagine.
Like,
I thought you were awake. First of all, fuck that.
There's a huge concern. Like, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. Like a very blanket terrifying. But what it says for someone who wants to have sex with a corpse.
Like,
That's what he wanted to do, was have sex with a corpse.
Because I think it's control and power. And again, like I can't, I have never talked to him about this, and clearly I won't, but I'm just going off my own psychotherapy background and in also talking with other people about this. It's all about control and power, because I've always been independent financially, emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be. And I didn't need Chris, right? If anything,
Right.
I think he needed me more than I needed him. And also he knew that. He knew that he could not control me. So what better way to control me than in a way I don't even know?
God.
So I think it was all about control and power to him. He needed a way to control me, and this was how he did it. And I also think it's something that, as disgusting as it is, again, because I understand that, it's called sleeping beauty syndrome. So people who have this, it's called somnophilia. And again, I'm not saying Chris has this. I'm just saying that this is what it kind of sounds like. Now, this is a kink for some people where there is consent. So for that is great. You do you. If this is something where you have a party that this is what they engage in, there is consent that you can have sex with me when I'm sleeping. The person actively has consented to that. That is different. There was no consent here. I did not consent to this. So that's what makes it disgusting, because that's what makes it rape.
Right. Thank you for being so eloquent on that too, to make sure that we didn't just accidentally shame somebody's kink.
Yeah.
We are not kink shamers here.
Yeah.
No.
We do that all the time. I always say there's an ass for every chair, but you don't have to sit down. But someone will sit there. That doesn't mean I have to sit there.
That is
Exactly.
So
So December 16th, right, is the infamous day. This is 2019. It's not even technically a full year from your wedding date. And a call comes over the radio. It's an active domestic. You had called the police and got only a few words out before a male voice had came in on the line and said, "We're fine," and hung up, basically. And essentially the cops are notified. They're like, "We have a male who's naked, walking around the house, ranting. Blood is everywhere." He's not very lucid. I say that from what I saw of he is not lucid in my definition of what the word lucid is. Toxic was a 43-minute show, I think is what it was, 43 minutes.
Yeah.
And give or take.
Yeah.
And obviously they're condensing things.
Yeah.
What happened that day for you? Because I don't even feel like we know, though we kind of know.
Right. So you're right. So Toxic had 43 minutes to make over 4 years of my life into an episode. Yeah. And they did the most amazing job. I could not be happier, but they obviously couldn't get everything in. So even with that night, it looks like things happened super quick. And they didn't. This started at probably 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I believe the police came in the house. I think it was like 7:15 at night. So this was an all-day event. And when I say that, he wasn't attacking me all day. That started around 6:15. at night, and that was a 45-minute thing. But I woke up in the morning, and basically, my dog, Chester, who I had at the time, got me up to go to the bathroom, which he never typically does. And when I took him out to the bathroom and I came back inside, the way Chris fell asleep with his phone just looked really bizarre to me. Like really bizarre. And I can remember my gut just kept saying look in his phone. Look in his phone. And it was just this voice that would not go away. And I'd only looked in his phone once before, and that was to find something he took a picture of that he wanted. So it wasn't common practice of me going through the man's phone. So when Chris slept, he was out, there was no waking the man up, nothing. So I went over to him. I took the phone out of his hands. And again, I just had this horrible feeling. So I took his phone, my phone, went into my bathroom, locked the door, and I opened up his phone. And that's where I found all of these horrific, explicit, sexual, demeaning messages with this woman from the night before. And I took pictures of all of them because I knew that it would disappear. So I sat there on my bathroom floor taking pictures with my phone of this entire conversation. And I can remember in that moment thinking to myself, like, I don't know who I married. And that thought was so prominent to me. And I'd watched enough true crime to know, like, oh shit, like, I don't know who I married. And because I'm thinking, like, my husband would never do this. Like, the man who claims to worship the ground I walk on would have never done something like this. So with that thought in my mind, I say to myself, oh my God, like, I have to change the codes to my safe, because I had my gun in my safe. So I went into my closet. I changed the codes to both my safes because I had my gun, my jewelry, some cash. And then I say to myself, all right, like, I've got to wake him up. And I knew that it wasn't easy to wake Chris up. So, and again, I'm upset. So I
obviously.
Bare minimum, you're upset. I'd be like, I am raging.
Yeah.
And I wasn't raging. I remained really calm. So I printed out all of these messages because I'm like, I'm going to wake him up and I'm going to start reading them. And then when that asshole gets up, I'm going to hand him his little copy so he can read along with me. And then I get myself like a small bowl, and I filled it with really cold water. And I just walk upstairs and I just dump the water over his face. And then he of course jumps up because that fucking woke him up. And I just start reading the messages. And it starts with, so you want to lick cum off her stomach? And his face just dropped. And I looked at him and I said, here's your phone. And I've printed them out. So you can delete these messages, but I've got them all here. And I've printed out you a copy so we can read along together. So you are not saying that I'm making up anything that's in here. And he says nothing. He goes into the shower. And that's when I start crying. And
that's what I was going to ask. I was like, okay, Kelly, I've got to ask woman to woman here. Like, were you like devastatingly hurt in this moment, or were you more? I have a few questions on that. Like, the devastation of it. Were you also just scared because, as you just said, you realized you didn't know the man fully? Like, now you're like, who the hell is this guy? And like, what the fuck is about to happen? Because I'm so sorry. You just said you cried, and I'm like, I don't know if I would have made it to the printing. To be honest with you,
I don't know how. You know what it is too? Like, I'm a crisis counselor, so I am able to compartmentalize. Right. So I think in that moment, like, I was very much like, this is what I'm going to do, this, and this. And then after I did it, that was when I was like, okay, now you can have your little breakdown. Like, now you can have your little MTV. Like you're good. You did what you wanted to do. So I was devastated, and I wasn't scared. I wasn't ever scared that day until he started physically assaulting me, because I never in a million years thought he would ever put his hands on me. This was the first and only time Chris ever put his hands on me or even screamed at me. Like, we never screamed and yelled at each other. So I wasn't scared. I just was like, I don't know who you are. Like, who are you? Like, because my husband would have never, so it wasn't a scared thing. It was a more like, what the fuck did I get myself into? Kind of a thing. And of course, I was devastated. So, Chris comes out of the shower and I'm like, listen. So one of the things they don't explain in Toxic was in July of 2019, I decided to do a complete renovation on the inside of my house. And December 16th, 2019 was literally the last day of the renovation. The contractors were doing the final walkthrough. So Chris actually destroys my home on the last day of the renovations, to the point where before Chris destroyed my home, literally minutes before, he texted my contractor saying, I hope Kelly loves her house. And literally minutes later, destroyed it. Because I lived in my house for, I think it was something like 9 years before Chris moved in. Chris only lived in my house for 11 months as a married couple. So this was my home.
Yes.
So I said to Chris, like, listen, I'm not going to work. I was supposed to go into the office to see clients. Clearly, I'm crying. I can't go see clients. So I say to him, I really don't want you here. But there's all these contractors coming to the house and I can't deal with them. So he ended up not leaving the house that day and staying. And I said, fine, if you are staying, like, just leave me alone. I'm staying up in the bedroom all day and don't bother me. And of course, that's not what happened. Chris kept coming into the bedroom, really, kind of basically saying to me like a lot of, are you leaving me? Are you leaving me? And I'm, crying and saying, how could you do this to me? And he's really not giving me answers, but he was very, very concerned with whether or not I was going to leave him. And, the beginning of the day, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I needed to kind of process what I just found. And at one point, I kept saying to Chris, like, I have no one I can talk to about this because anyone I tell is going to hate you. And I don't know right now if I am going to stay with you or this marriage is over. And if I choose to stay with you, whoever knows about this is going to hate you. So like,
forever.
I have no one to tell.
Forever.
And after thinking about that, I'm the type of person, like, I have to talk about stuff. So I decided to call Christina without Chris knowing. And thank God I did, because she was one of the people that really helped to save my life that day. Chris did not know that Christina and I had been talking. And, one of the funny things is, Christina and I texted her like all of the messages, and there's about 30 text messages going back with me and Christina from that morning where she's like, this is bad. And I'm like, this is bad. And she's like, yeah, Kel, this is real fucking bad. And I'm like, this is bad. This is bad. Like, we're just going, and that's all we're saying. Like, this is bad. This is bad. This is, but, thank God I told her what was going on, because at one point Chris barged into, the master bedroom and he was like, hit me. And I remember I was sitting on the bed and I just looked at him and I was really like confused. And I said to him, I was like, hit you? I was like, I've never laid my hands on you. Why would I start now? And he's like, hit me. You'll feel much better. You said you're in pain. You'll feel much better. And I said, Chris, like, I'm not in physical pain. I'm in emotional pain. I said, do you know what that's like? I said, that would be, hitting you is not going to make me feel better. I said, what I would do before I ever lay his hand on you is I would take my gun, shoot myself in front of you. So you have to live with that for the rest of your life and that emotional pain. That's the kind of pain I'm in. I'm not in physical pain. So he storms out of the bedroom. I call Christina immediately and I tell her what he just said. As I'm on the phone with her, and again, at this moment, he does not know that we are talking. He beeps into Christina. So I say, oh my God, pick it up. She picks it up. And Chris says to her, Kelly just said she's going to shoot me with her gun. So now Christina knows I did not just say that. So she gets off the phone with him. She calls me back and says, Chris just said, you said you were going to shoot him with the gun. So I said to her, gun's got to go. Still in this moment, I'm not thinking he's going to kill me. I'm thinking, holy shit, he's going to just do what I said. And I certainly can't live with that if he kills himself. Now, he had never made any suicidal comments or anything like that. But I thought, oh my God, he's going to make me live with something like, so I just was like, guns got to get out of the house. So if I didn't talk to Christina that day, I don't know if I would have taken the gun out of the house. And I honestly think Chris's plan, even though I changed the code to the safes, there were keys to the safes. I was missing a set of keys. I had one set, my other set magically disappeared. So I don't know. I still to this day don't know if he had the set of keys to the safes. Thank God I took the gun out of the house, because I honestly believe that if I didn't, I wouldn't be here today.
Was he familiar with guns? Was he a gun user as well?
So Chris is former military and he is a chemicals and weapons specialist.
That makes that.
I don't know if I should just get up and leave or
So I also, and I don't have I don't really have much proof of this. I also have a theory. Again, it's not fact. I can't prove it. I believe that there may have been guns in my house that I was not aware of.
I mean, anything's possible when you find that shit on your phone with somebody that's never even yelled at you.
All right, so you guys guessed that we were going to be able to finish all of that wild story in just one episode, and the answer is absolutely fucking not. No, we still have even more to unfold in a 2-part series. So the next episode is going to be coming out here very, very shortly, where not only was this brutal attack kind of the catalyst for the conversation, but all of the craziness that really happens afterwards, right?
Right. It's I mean, we don't want to pack all that into 1 hour.
No. We got to spread it out because Kelly's got a lot to tell us,
Yeah. We got her to pay attention to us, and now we're like, hey, we're going to keep you here, and we're going to have everybody come back
forever. No. So thank you guys so much. Don't forget, like, rate, review, subscribe. Make sure to look at our show notes. We're going to have all the details for Kelly. And don't forget, don't get mad.
Get sassy.
We love you.
We love you. Bye.
Bye. This episode was sponsored, edited, and produced by Wonderboy Media. Get the deets at WBOYmedia.com to see how you can make your podcast dreams a reality.
Help us out and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to our audio project. Don't forget, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at, of course, a couple of Sassholes.
Want more sass? Become a member of our Patreon for bonus content, merch, and more. Plus, we're on Cameo now, so there's even more ways to get the sass you need just how you like it. As always, don't get mad.
Get sassy.
Theodore, can I pet that dog?